Hi, I'm Matt Allen, editor of DadsDivorce.com. In today's edition of Dad's Divorce Live, we're going to be talking about post-divorce dating and introducing your new girlfriend to your children. We'll be talking about this with Nancy Fagan, who provides divorce planning and mediation services for men and women as the owner of the Divorce Help Clinic in San Diego. Now, Nancy is a nationally recognized divorce and relationship expert. She is the author of 2 books and has appeared on countless radio and TV shows. You can learn more about Nancy and her work by visiting the website, thedivorcehelpclinic.com. So Nancy, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks, Matt. It's a pleasure.
Now, first off, let's talk about what's the big deal about a quote-unquote rebound relationship?
Well, rebound relationships, regardless of how strong the emotions feel, don't last. And that's because people get into them when they're not 100% healthy.
And how long should you wait post-divorce to begin the dating process to avoid that
Well, you know
rebound?
what? People are going to have a rebound relationship, so they're going to jump in no matter what I say, no matter what anybody else says, because they're in a real state of emotional need. And typically, men in a relationship confide in that significant other with all of their emotions, which is unlike women. Women have 5, 10 girlfriends they share the same experience with over and over. And that support system is still there after a marriage is over for the women. But for the men, they lose that significant person to talk to. So they're very quick to jump into a relationship so that they can have that nurturing that they can't get from their buddies.
And you mentioned jumping quickly into a relationship. Obviously, it's got to be hard on the children as the family is breaking up and maybe new partners are coming around with both the mom and the dad. So should you be talking to your kids about how you're dating post-divorce?
Absolutely not. And if anybody ever watches 2.5 Men and Alan's situation, how he's always trying to hide it from Jake, I don't know if you watch 2.5 Men. Well, he does a horrible job at hiding it. And the little Jake, of course, he's a snotty little kid, and it's fine for him. He doesn't care how many partners his dad has. But because children have very different emotions and react differently to the different partners, it's best, just as a rule of thumb, until at least a year has passed, or 9 months, 10 months, and everything's pretty stable in both of your relationships, meaning the ex and you, and you're not having a lot of conflict, wait until that point to introduce a new partner.
So this 9 to 10 month waiting period, does that come maybe after the divorce is completely finalized or just after one of the parties moves out?
Not at all. That deadline's pretty insignificant. Most people jump into a relationship very early on. As a matter of fact, a lot of partners go on, men especially, because they're so hurt. They detect that the wife is leaving the marriage emotionally, and when she announces it, they start getting online and making emotional connections with women, and that very quickly leads to meeting the person outside. So it really doesn't matter when you meet somebody. The important part is not introducing them to the kids, because that relationship is bound to end once the men get through the recovery period.
So when you do get to that point of introducing your new girlfriend to your children, how do you handle it? Should there be parameters set on what's discussed or where you introduce your new girlfriend to them?
Well, sometimes you have to be careful, because in the marital settlement agreement that you and your ex decide on, sometimes there are parameters in there that say that there are no overnights with new female partners or male partners, and you have to make sure to stick to that. Otherwise, that ex, right when she finds out, is going to take you right back to court and get it modified. But if there aren't any parameters, you want to do it individually and do it with the most sensitive child and get the reaction, and do something that's catered to that child. Let's say that the child likes water parks. Go to a water park with the child and make sure that the girlfriend doesn't wear anything too skimpy, because then, of course, they're going to think Dad only likes that girl because, her presentation.
Right.
But the child who's more sensitive is more likely to dislike this new person, and it has nothing to do with her. They're going to automatically assume she broke up the marriage. They're not going to like her because of that. There's just a lot of resistance because the children have a strong alliance to their mother. They didn't choose a divorce, and they still want the parents together, regardless of how bad things were.
So how does a child's age influence these decisions on when and how to introduce your new partner to them?
Well, sometimes with a teenager, the younger children, for instance, are much easier. When they're still school age, it's a lot easier because you can talk to them and they don't think as much as a teenager. So they'll accept you as the new partner as long as they see that you're happy and that mom isn't troubled by it. But a teenager may say, hey, yeah, I want you to get out dating and, I want to meet this person. I want to hook you up with somebody. But don't listen to the teenager and don't share too much information with that child, even if they're asking for it, because it's going to turn around and bite you, that they're not going to like the person. And, of course, that's when they start to hit all those emotional issues themselves. This person's to blame. I don't like Dad because he ruined their family or whatever the situation is. So with teenagers, wait even a little bit longer. And when you introduce them, it's better to go to a neutral place. Let's say that, for instance, if Dad has moved into an apartment, that's not a neutral place because you're trying to establish that as a home with the children and the dad. Or if you stay in the same house that you were married in, that's not Dad's house. That's the family home in the children's mind. So you don't want to introduce the woman there. Go to like a park or something daytime where there's activity involved. And with a teenager, again, I'm not talking going to a rock concert, but do something that teenagers are interested in. Maybe even just shopping at the mall if it's a girl. And with a guy, maybe to a ball game and just letting her hang out. But when you do it, do not be affectionate. Don't hold hands. Don't caress a new person because that child's dealing, again, with those alliances to the mother, and they're going to be really confused and angry.
Right. Well, finally, what effects does introducing a new girlfriend have on your children's lives?
Well, it can have a positive impact. Let's say that the mom was just not an attentive mom or a good mom. Some moms are just not good moms. Parents in general, sometimes they're not. Maybe that they can bring something to the child's life that they didn't have. For instance, you may have a very introverted mother, and this new woman coming in is extroverted, and maybe she works in some Hollywood show, and the child's interested in that show. You can expand the child's horizon, but to be very clear, this is not your mother. This is just a woman that, I have a relationship with, and I'd like the two of you to be friends, and she's not going to replace your mom. And you're not going to call her mom. But there's always something that can enrich a child's life, and you have to let the child know what that is because they're going to tend to look at her negatively.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you, Matt.
That was Nancy Fagan. You can learn more about her and the Divorce Help Clinic by visiting her website, thedivorcehelpclinic.com. That'll do it for this edition of Dad's Divorce Live. I'm Matt Allen, editor of DadsDivorce.com.